Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas region. Our first match of today
Rodan's muted. Oh,
is
no.
going to be
What have you done,
Nalguidan versus Just
So
Saiyan.
disappointed.
I'm not muted to the broadcast, though. I forgot to unmute on our specific comms.
Oh, all right. Hey, I'm just filling in this week. Give me a break.
I appreciate you stepping in, but thanks for the reminder. I do have a bad habit sometimes of leaving myself muted for the co-casters, but I just think that we're so in sync that you can read my lips. And you can understand.
I was about to start trying, honestly.
Valiant effort for first try. Next break, we'll see if you can do it again. So, Warrior banned away from Nalguidan. Very expected here. Warrior didn't actually perform nearly as well as I expected to yesterday. And one thing that did take me aback was the overwhelming consensus from the players to include the Serpent Egg and the Terran Gore Fiends. But it makes sense, when you have a lot of Quest Warlock out there in the metagame. It has a ton of AoE.
Right.
And things like Eggs and Terran Gore Fiend make it Warlocks to...
You're just not going to get a lot of benefit out of it, right?
Yeah.
All right. But aside from that, I like the list. I did mention that I was kind of more favored from the Hunters. Speaking of Warriors, Just Saiyan's Warrior does get through. So he will get to play that. Didn't end up having that banned. Had his Demon Hunter banned, which is kind of interesting. What do you think about this lineup, though?
I think that Demon Hunter is worthy of considering to be banned because it just seems to have those unstoppable hands. With it yesterday, where we saw just like the Demon Hunter versus the Warrior, and the Warrior gained like 40 armor, and yet Demon Hunter just found a way to kind of pressure and threaten lethal in like 2 turns anyway.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard to counter Demon Hunter, and sometimes it feels like you really can't. So I don't blame Nalguidan, and also to be very honest, Nalguidan's not a good spot. He's in dire straits. He has to kind of take some risks here. So I admire the fact that he's willing to go off the script, what a lot of other people do, and leave up Warrior. But it could also blow up in his face.
Yep, that's right. He's played 5 games so far. He's got 2 to go if you include this one. And getting 2 wins might just maybe give him a chance to sneak into that 6th place spot, especially because Just Saiyan is currently occupying the 6th place spot in Division A. So it's a very big match for him, for both of these guys, honestly.
That's right. Yeah. A huge match. So here we go. Game number 1, Hunter versus the Warrior. Opening mulligans.
Nothing like the Nalguidan slam in your first hand, huh?
That's right. It's not time to Space Jam just yet, but we'll see if that card ends up even getting played. It could be one of those things where Warrior just has a lot of ability to pressure in the mid game and then combo you out before you can get to 10 mana.
It's pretty common. It does feel good to drop a Dwarven Sharpshooter on turn 1. As that is generally the turn you want to drop it. Let's see what Corsair Cash brings him. Oh, all right. Grabs him the Ankar. Might be useful early on. He's got the Risky Skipper in his hand. He's got, like, the beginnings of a good combo turn so far.
Yes. And, the most important thing for the Hunter is to be able to curve out, which is what Nalguidan has. And,
yeah.
I mean, the Warrior will let the Hunter do that just for a little bit.
You can't let it go
that's actually
too
a
crazy.
Great outcome here for Nalguidan.
Oh, yeah. Getting the higher health minion is going to be really useful. Ankar doesn't kill it. He enrages here? I don't know. I'd be wary. He's thinking about it.
Only because he already has Risky Skipper in hand and the Armor Smith makes me feel like it's worth considering to hold on to it. But I think most of the time, my instinct does tell me to enrage it, so that way I don't feel like I have to commit Risky Skipper next turn.
I think years of Warrior playing experience kind of tells you want to finish off that 1 health minion with it, especially if you already dedicated some of your own health and a weapon charge and all that. So it probably feels bad, like you mentioned, because of what he had in his hand, but you got to do it. Corrosive Breath gets drawn by Nalguidan.
Yeah, and you also should consider doing that because there are ways for your opponent to kind of really press in and punish you, especially if they have like the acidic swamping right afterwards.
Right.
To try shut down your development opportunities and your ability to get tempo onto the board.
Wow, the Bomb Wrangler draw for Just Saiyan. So this like mid-game combo turn looks better and better. You've got a lot of pieces, right? You've got the Risky Skipper, you've got the Armor Smith, you've got the Bomb Wrangler. Put together a pretty scary board and potentially gain a lot of armor. This turn 4 is maybe a little bit on the awkward side, I guess. All right, yeah, so just get the Bomb Wrangler going early. do you think about that?
I think that board like the Bomb Wrangler by itself isn't extremely assuming, but when you start to think about how it keeps summoning boombots, which can challenge everything you play on the board afterwards, it gets really alive. What a pickup, by the way, for Nalguidan, too.
No
this
kidding.
acidic Swamp Ooze shutting down the last draw and that swing. But, you know, at least Saiyan got the traditional, or rather the average expected value from it, because Anchor's supposed to only have 2 swings, and, you know, the 3rd swing would have just been bonus.
Right, exactly. That's what you tell yourself anyway when you're trying to sleep at night. You're just saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, Cobalt Lackey from the Lance. All right, so a little bit of damage to help with a little bit more board control.
Yeah, and that's going to be more useful against the threat of what Nalguidan could be playing in the future turns, especially for the ones that you can't, you don't necessarily want to attack into. You know, cards like Evasive Fellwing or Fairy Dragon, Cobalt Lackey is all very useful.
Yeah, if like one of your bombs comes up a little bit short or something like that in terms of damage to a minion, at least you've got a little bit of a band-aid there in terms of 2 damage that you can put on something.
Definitely.
Would you just hero power here? Gain a little bit of armor?
Right, so we got to think about what's your opponent's best development turn. Usually turn 5 is defined for this deck by Rotnest Drake or Faceless Corruptor. Faceless Corruptor not on the menu because your opponent doesn't have a Desert Spear. Rotnest Drake, your opponent actually doesn't have a great target because it'll kill these boombots. So I think you can definitely justify armoring up instead of just developing like Sky Raider.
Yeah. And what's
another thing
to
consider? Felmaw. It's a little bit clunky here. Actually, it's very clunky. He's going to be off curve.
Yeah. Doesn't feel good. But you can't really use the Dragonbane either. And you can't...
Well, you know, one thing to consider is Dragonbane can just still soak up a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the other cards in his hand, I suppose that's probably one of the better answers. Looks like he might go Imprison Felmaw Hero Power instead. And it is hard to give up the value on the Dragonbane. I mean, it's really tough to like play that, let it die, and you know, miss out on that 5 damage.
Yeah, there's also a chance that Nalguidan doesn't have anything to play on 6. Besides that Imprisoned Felmaw. So it's actually good for 2 reasons. One, the Felmaw can activate a little bit earlier than later, which is what you want. You want to play that card as soon as you get it.
Yep.
And the second would be that he actually has a guaranteed way to use all 6 mana next turn with the Dragon.
You know, I like that. And then that leads into a Psymat on turn 7. If it calls for it, again, you know, one of the big things that you always talk about with this deck is you want to use your mana as efficiently as possible each turn. And so he's at least got that for a little while, and he's got a couple turns of card draw to set up like 8, 9, 10, etc. So just saying...
He's got Terran Gorfian.
Yeah, he does.
That's awesome.
Might be time,
Great
too.
pickup.
Oh, South Sea Captain as well. That's really nice. Get more value out of that weapon. Perhaps... Oh, no, that buffs the pirates. I'm thinking of somebody else. I'm thinking of Greenskins.
Greenbacks.
Captain Greenskin.
Yeah.
Well,
it doesn't sound very healthy to me, but...
No, you should probably have your doctor check that out. If your skin is literally turning green. I mean, he is a goblin,
If it lasts for 5 hours or more, please consult your doctor.
That's right.
See if greenskin is right for you.
You find yourself patrolling a ship endlessly in the dead mines. Consult a psychologist.
That's right.
So Fairy Dragon, and it's going to drop the Dragonbane.
Yeah.
So really wanted to get the value out of the weapon over the value out of the Dragonbane, it looks like.
Yeah, I think holding on to a weapon swing is more important. As you can tell right now, it's not really about the damage to face, it's purely about the board control. And Sam picks a Battle Rage. That's one of his best cards that he could pick up right now. And he has actually several ways that he could approach this. He could try and go for the Battle Rage turn immediately. He can Terran Gorfian, then go for Battle Rage.
Well, the first Boombot, not super inspiring. Let's see what the second one does. He's at least going to gain some armor here, too. And
yeah.
Like you mentioned, should be a decent Battle Rage turn.
And it's to be expected. Saiyan had 2 swings of the armor, the anchor, so you kind of expect your opponent to have Risky Skipper. The Battle Rage is what really stings. You can kind of see it in Nalguidan's face.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Not what you want to see here, your Nalguidan.
So, just saying almost completely replenishes his hand.
Yeah, he has a couple
here.
of ways that he can also dump his hand here if he wants. Like Rampage is one. He can also swing with the lackey, play the lackeys.
Yep. Deciding what lackey's gonna. Okay, Rampage. All right. Yeah, you kill the Dragonbane, you make a bit of a value trade there, gain a little bit more armor.
Chance for the Felmot to attack into it, although that's a good outcome there for Nalguidan. One, to get rid of that risky skipper easily.
I really like what Justsaiyan was trying to do with the Enrage, though, because if the Felmot does attack into the 4 damage minion, then you just have handled things so efficiently at that point.
Yeah.
Didn't work out, but it's a very cool setup.
It's clever. It's clever. I mean, I was thinking that the alternative was going wider on the war with lackeys, and that's also totally viable too.
Sure, yeah.
I think, like you said, it's very smart, and he would have looked like a genius if it worked out.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a 1 out of 3 chance too, so it's not like he was really taking like this crazy chance. It was pretty realistic. So, is this a turn where you try to set up a Terran Gorfine play?
That's a play that immediately stands out to me just because it's been drawn. I'm trying to think about if there's ways we could address the board state though, because part of the problem is that 11 powers on board, and while you're at 29, things could get ugly very quickly if a Dino Tamer brand comes out. So I'm looking at
definitely concerned.
Maybe it is a Terran Gorfine. Maybe it's like double Kobold Lackey, Serpent Egg, Terran Gorfine.
Yeah, you could eliminate the Felmaw that way at least.
Right.
So you'd only have the 6/6 to worry about. Terran Gorfine represents a pretty big threat to your opponent, especially where they're at 16 health. And Nalguidan's still a couple turns away from the Grand Slam.
Yeah, the alternative would be to go for a Blood Boil Brute opportunity. So you could utilize, say, Cobalt Lackey. Blood Boil Brute goes down to 5 mana, and then from there, do a couple of other things. Oh my gosh!
Wow.
There's a 2-turn lethal setup because he has Core Carnelian and 2 Kobolds.
Oh, that's a good point. Could be. That's 8 damage from hand.
Right. Plus the 4 damage from the weapon. Plus if he picks up even more Lackey damage. Oh, okay, Saiyan, I see you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, this is a nice little sort of like middle ground from everything we were talking about, right? Where he does set up that possible lethal, but he also presents a little bit of a threat on the board to kind of distract his opponent too. So I like that. I think that's a kind of very elegant way of doing both things pretty well.
Yeah, and you said he has 8 damage from the hand. That Corsair Cash is like a sneaky extra point of damage.
That's true.
Which would give him lethal next turn if he has the mana to play everything. I don't think he does, but it's just like another way for Saiyan to potentially get there.
Sure. And I think Nalguidan might just be dead here, especially if he goes to face.
So if he trades, he's dead.
All right. Well, now there's plenty of damage.
With the Serpent Egg, I think he might have been able to survive just barely. But now he's certainly dead. I mean, now he's like, okay, please don't have any charger.
I mean, but
there's a charger.
It's hard to blame him, right? Because you don't expect your opponent to have the double Cobalt Lackey, right? They've got a lot of lackeys, and maybe you can kind of make that assumption because you just haven't seen it. Just saying doesn't show him the second lackey. It's a generous thing to do, but game number 1, going to Justsaiyan.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where if you kind of like queue up the Highlander Hunter versus the Warrior, you're not expecting great results.
Yeah.
So it's overall like not a good spot to be up against the Warrior here. I guess you could argue that Nalguidan had a better matchup through Warlock than he did with Hunter, but like you don't know if your opponent's going to queue, what they're going to queue the first game. So I don't really blame Nalguidan here for taking a risk and it didn't pay out.
No, I don't think so. And at least now you're at the point where you don't need to worry about the Warrior for the rest of the match. Your vision can be a little bit more focused on the decks that are left, which are Warlock and Druid for Justsaiyan. And so we'll see. We'll see how tight this series ends up being.
Yeah. So for game number 2, the Warrior / Demon Hunter and already has kind of gone through, like you said. So what can we really look forward to for the rest of the series? And I think it really comes down to how these Warlocks are going to fare against the rest of the decks.
Right.
And so if I'm Nalguidan, I might just queue up another Hunter game. Although I feel like Druid has been doing pretty well against the Hunters. Just because Hunter can't deal with a Soul of the Forest build, or board rather.
Yeah.
So I might be worried about that too.
No, I think you're right. It's kind of like that ultimate choice where it's like, oh well, if I think he's gonna pick this, then I should pick this. But he might know that I'm thinking he's gonna pick this, so he's gonna pick this instead. But if I know he knows, and it just goes back and forth. So ultimately, you got to get a win with all the decks anyway. So we'll see what Nalguidan. It looks like he is going with the Hunter, and it is the Warlock for Just Saiyan as well. So yeah, that Druid matchup might be avoided for Nalguidan, but he has to win this one first.
Yeah, Quest Warlock's still one of the highest win rates in Grandmasters, just right ahead of a couple of extremely small sample size decks like Galakron, not Stealth Rogue, which I guess plays Galakron in it.
Yeah.
We don't have that many games of it, but it's around 60% clip. And of course, Warrior with a 70% win rate across 80+ games. I think that tells you all you need to know about that class.
So I think that's one of the highest win rates I've heard of, I guess, against such a large sample size.
Yeah, people are comparing this Warrior deck that's being played a lot as Saiyan draws the Quest Explorer ready for turn 2. That's a really good draw there.
Yeah.
People are comparing that Bomb Warrior or Pain Warrior, that No Hands Warrior, whatever you want to call it. They're making comparisons to the Patron Warrior deck in the sense that obviously Patron Warrior had absurd power level. It might be still to this day one of the strongest decks that ever existed in Hearthstone.
I think you'd make that argument, yeah.
Yeah, but they love the complexity of it, the play pattern differentiation, game to game, matchup dependent, and also just how fun it is to play and rewarding when you get these like really massive combos off.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, like when people put it that way, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm gonna ban this deck every time.
I can see the parallels for sure. I don't think anything's ever gonna quite match the Grim Patron decks, but still,
right. The spirit of it still lingers on.
It's there. And hopefully we'll never see a time again where a Grim Patron type deck comes up, but it is those were interesting times.
Oh, absolutely.
Casted a lot of like early Korean Hearthstone tournaments in that meta. So Fairy Dragon down for Nalguidan.
Yeah.
And there's Zixor.
This is probably the saddest thing to see as the Hunter player. Fairy Dragon's very difficult to deal with as the Warlock. They have to use AoE to kill it.
Yeah.
And so having a Questing Explorer challenge it and draw a card is huge for Saiyan. It's a very small thing, but has major impact.
Right, you're hoping that Fairy Dragon can, either, like you said, pull one of those bigger AoE spells out of the hand and efficiently, or get like 6, maybe even 9 damage in sometimes. But Just Saiyan with the Questing Explorer able to deal with it pretty easily. Going for the life tap, picks up the Alexstrasza. And yeah, I think that's kind of where you leave it. Not really anything else you can do right now. So Scavenger's Ingenuity, what do you think? That hero power then?
It just stinks because the Zixor hasn't died yet, and the primary candidate that you would love in an ideal world would be to play cards like Scavenger's Ingenuity on Zixor and turn all of those 4/4s into 6/6s.
Right.
And then cards like Dark Skies and Craze Netherwing become just like a lot worse. Okay, so instead of getting the Diving Griffin though, because that's like on the opposite side is like kind of the worst option that you would get.
Sure.
Getting a Escape Mana Saber, especially in a Highlander deck, can actually be very profoundly strong. If anyone.
I think it can match up well into Just Saiyan's Warlock as well, in that it's going to have a lot of health, and that makes it a little bit trickier to take out. Something like Dark Skies. Obviously, Just Saiyan's hand is big enough right now, but it's easier to play around that a little bit if it's got a little bit more health. Stormhammer. All right. It's another kind of interesting turn for Nalguidan. Got the Boom Pistol Bully on curve, and that's going to be the play, it looks like. But honestly, that's one of the cards that is not quite as effective against Warlock. That said, it is effective this turn in that it shuts down something like the Nether Drake. But
yeah, it's interesting. But the most important thing is just disrupting their play pattern, because there is value in just playing a Nether Drake on curve to have that 5/5 preemptively out. And so this is definitely an uncomfortable spot for Saiyan. He has that guaranteed board clear in the form of Dark Skies, but is there a way that he can optimize further?
That's the question.
It might just be. It might just be a plot twist.
Yeah, your hand's not looking that inspiring in terms of board control, aside from the Dark Skies. Just looking at what he's looking at right now, but maybe you plot twist and you find like a Nether Breath or something like that and a dragon to activate it.
Right.
We'll see. Just goes for the 2 damage Mortal Coil from the Moarg Artificer. Drives into the Questing Explorer. Guess he's still plot twist, huh?
Yeah, and you can kind of see the impact of that Boom Pistol Bully. I was thinking about Escape Mana Saber because it would allow him to play Siamat on the following turn, but Mana Saber is vulnerable to a Dark Skies, and Saiyan's going to go ahead and Soulfire, loses Rain of Fire. That's actually a very good outcome for Saiyan. Rain of Fire is not super impactful, right?
That's not bad. Evasive Feywing is the draw for Nalguidan. You can play that with a hero power if he wants to, otherwise... 1 mana short of what would be a nice turn, which would be Stormhammer, Feywing, getting to clear the 2/2 without losing any charges on your weapon. Do you think there's a possibility of like a Mana Saber hero power? Nah, you don't really want to leave that Moarg Artificer on the board though, do you?
Yeah, exactly. The problem is that Escape Mana Saber becomes very vulnerable to any kind of AoE being done. Now, is he respecting it too much? I mean, your opponent did just lose a Rain of Fire, so that's like fewer options to deal with. But like the alternative is like playing Faceless Corruptor, and it's just a 4/2 at that point.
Right. I mean, I think too that you're sort of considering that you haven't seen Dark Skies yet, and if he didn't have it in his first hand, he's almost certainly got it in his second hand, just by the law of averages. So it does make you a lot more nervous to play the Mana Saber. It goes for the Fellwing and the hero power. I think it's just all about trying to draw out that removal, right?
Right. Now, Saiyan doesn't have to necessarily acknowledge this. If he plays the Abyssal Summoner, he's going to put out a 7/7, and
I like that a lot.
It doesn't get contested easily by a few things. Like, you look at like Siamat on 7. You can't just rush and Divine Shield and kill it. It is strong enough that it like holds up to a Dino Tamer Brand, and you can like use. Well, you already use Moto Koi on Rain of Fire, but you should be able to pick off stuff afterwards. So I like playing the Abyssal Summoner here.
Definitely makes the most sense. Yeah. Again, like Hunter can struggle taking down some of these big high health minions. Draws the Dwarven Sharpshooter.
Okay.
But yeah, Siamat just feels pretty bad this turn.
Yeah, I probably would say that Siamat is going to just wait here. I'm curious about this Dwarven Sharpshooter. There's a few different plays that you can go about this. You can use Dwarven Sharpshooter in like your cheaper cards to remove the board.
Yeah.
You can also Dwarven Sharpshooter and Abyssal Enforcer, or not. Talking about
Faceless Corruptor.
Faceless Corruptor. Yeah, thank you.
No, that's
Abyssal Enforcer. That's like Whispers of the Old Gods. What am I talking about?
It's been a little while. He goes for the Mana Saber, though. Leaves a couple 2/2s on the board. Crazed Netherwing is not the most helpful card for Just Saiyan right now.
Yeah. I mean, it does damage the Mana Saber, but like you said, he put himself down to 12 health. What can he do with this Dark Skies? How much damage will it do? He's holding 8 cards right now.
Yeah, if he runs... I guess if he runs both minions into the... well, would you run them into face for the damage, or would you run them into the Dwarven Sharpshooter to reduce the health to try to make the Dark Skies more likely to kill the Mana Saver? I don't know if that's even possible, though.
I think because the Mortar Artificer doubles everything, if you just attack face with both, and then you Dark Skies, it should actually kill everything.
No, you're right. I totally forgot the Morg was out there. Yeah. This is going to do it anyway. Maybe he forgot it was out there, too. I mean, this guarantees it. I didn't do that.
No, it doesn't. It does. I think, or does it? I don't know, because Dark Strike does count itself, so it's like 8. You get 8 shots.
Yeah, and you don't lose. It doesn't stop doing double damage if it kills the Moarg Artificer before it kills everything else either. So.
Right.
Interesting.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Might have been a small thing, but in Saiyan's mind too, it could be like, does it really matter dealing 4 damage? Maybe, maybe not. So he just wants to be entirely sure.
Yeah, I suppose. Math and starts with Dino Tamer Brand on an empty board.
Okay.
All right, then.
Right.
I mean, it's not a mana-efficient turn, but I think you're still pretty happy about this if you're Nalguidan. Nalguidan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Sand unhappy. And if he plays Twisting Nether, he does have development afterwards, but the thing that makes him sad above all is he doesn't get the hero power. Oh, he has Caladan in hand, though. So he can totally just play Caladan and Abyssal.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Abyssal's just on my mind a lot.
It's an Abyssal kind of day, apparently.
Yeah.
So Dino Tamer suddenly without his Dino. Still a 2-4 on the board, I suppose.
Right. Siamat here is actually very good, too.
Yeah. It's a board clear. You do keep your 2-4 alive as well.
Yeah, I wonder if he just wants a Divine Shield instead, too, just to get the stats.
Yeah.
And it's like, Dark Skies already have been used, so if he does play, like, Crazy Netherwing to kill, he's also damaging himself, so I think this is good.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
nice pickup here.
More health. Just when Just Saiyan needs it.
Right. So 8 cards in the hand. If he bumps and plays Dark Skies, it's full clear.
Yep. That is correct.
Then he can Abyssal Summoner right afterwards.
Yeah, it's a nice little development turn. It's still a 6/6 taunt on the board. Still something Hunter needs to worry about, but I think you kind of start to be wary of the direct damage, and the Dragon Bane might help a lot with that. Yeah, 11 HP, that's... You know, if there's... Obviously, the Warlock can heal a lot, but not counting that, there are some opportunities to close this out with direct damage, possibly. You do have means to go through the 6/6 as well. Just not great ones.
This is a fairly hard turn.
Yeah.
Because Nalguidan could go for development, like Animal Companion, Dragon Bane, Hero Power. But there's a lot of ways that could go wrong. Unleash the Hounds makes it even more interesting, because it does make things like the Hounds itself better.
Yeah.
So you could play Unleash the Hounds.
So you can kill with a Stormhammer now. So I guess there's that.
Right.
And I guess...
So I think Nalguidan was saying if it was Huffer, he would trade into it anyways with the weapon, and then he would probably just develop right behind it. But the one thing that I don't like is that Nalguidan didn't get the hero power. It's a very small complaint, but you just want to put pressure onto your opponent so that way you're within striking distance, and if you just draw a kill command, they die. Right now, Nalguidan's nowhere near lethal if he draws kill command.
Yeah, I don't think it's a small complaint at all, actually. I mean, when you get down to these around 10 HP scenarios for Hunter, you kind of do want to be hero powering every turn. Even against a deck that has a good amount of healing, like the Quest Warlock does, just because, you know, you're trying to do everything you can to set up lethal.
Right. Another part of me wonders what was wrong with, like, Dragon Bane hero power and evaluate right after that.
Right. Would have been another option.
Oh my
Zero-man
God.
Alexstrasza.
You gotta be kidding me. This deck, I don't know what it is, but somehow that tome keeps summoning a zero-mana Alexstrasza. That is just silly.
Yeah. And if things go well, you know, you can plot twists, you can move things around to give yourself a higher chance to get that Malagos or the Alexstrasza, but brings himself back up to 15, establishes to 8/8 on the board. And this is suddenly a pretty rough scenario for Nalguidan. Imprisoned Felma does not help a lot at this point in the game.
And it's kind of what we're talking about. The other end of the pendulum is, you know, Nalguidan, had he squeezed in that hero power, would have been useless against the zero-man Alexstrasza. So, yeah, it happens. How sad is this Faceless Corruptor? You have 2 targets you don't want to use it on. Well, one you can't use it on. You play in Prison Felma, it's dormant. You can't interact with it.
Right.
And I think if you play Dragon Bane, you got a hero power, which means you're floating mana.
And he kills the 3/2. All right.
Okay.
Let's see, so 10 damage on the board for Just Saiyan right now.
Right.
He's
Is
got...
there another Aramnessi Broodmother in the deck?
I feel like he has one more in there. I think it's one more Morag and one Broodmother. No, I'm wrong. I guess he must have used that earlier.
Oh, is that
Zephyrus?
No,
he's not active.
It's not active.
It feels bad to trade. Like, so I guess you could run the 2/3 into the 3/5 Crazed Netherwing and still do 8 to face.
Yeah, well, that is definitely an option. I think what we want to do is try to see if we can reduce the amount of outs for lethal the hunter has.
Yeah.
So if you, let's say you do trade the Alex Strauss, you push your point down to 19, you play a few minions. Is that good enough? I guess Sand says it's not.
I think the higher damage has to be the priority here.
Yeah, I mean, Sand has 5 cards left in this deck, so chances are he would have been able to draw an activator for Zephyrus. But he's taking the guaranteed line.
Yeah.
And he already saw King Crush, or he already saw the Dynatamer Brand, so that's not a possibility. It has to actually come down to Nalguidan and his Zephyrus. Wow, Sand playing the Tempo Zephyrus.
Tempo Zephyrus, when he would have almost certainly had it activated next game, but just respecting the damage that Hunter can do from hand, but it's just not there. For Nalguidan, you can't even really use the Rotten S Drake in this case. I mean, you can play it.
He has to use it.
You can
play it.
He has to
use it for Faceless Corruptor. That's it.
Yeah, which is about the worst use of that you possibly can have. But what else do you do at this point, you know?
Right. He needs a Hail Mary. He needs specifically for Saiyan to whiff, and then he has to draw his own Zephyrus. That's the way he wins. Oh, he also needs that Felmel to go face.
Yeah. All right, Dragon Queen not active. We'll see what the... Well, actually, no, he's just dead, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got the Crazy Netherwing.
Yeah.
That was a... he shoved the coin back in. That's funny.
All right, well, the Crazy Netherwing ends the game anyway. Yeah. Just saying, with a 2-0 lead. 0 mana coin.
And most importantly, that Hunter did not beat the Warlock. And that was a matchup... That's one of the few matchups that Warlock struggles a lot in.
Not this time.
Not this time. And you look at the Warlock win rates, it's really good across the board. There is one deck that it tends to lose against, and that's Highlander Hunter. So far, going into today, it had a 25% win rate. And now it just got a pretty big bump.
I think it came down to a lot of those sort of board building turns, right? Where the Abyssal Summoner turns made a big difference. He just was able to put out a lot of stuff that damage into his minions instead of into his face, right? I think that ended up benefiting him pretty greatly in that game.
Yeah, and overall, you got to be pretty happy if you're Saiyan, but if you're Nalguidan, you feel like the whole world must be against you at this point.
Yeah, probably.
And, quite candidly, I can totally see, like, Nalguidan's lines of play, and I think it made a lot of sense. I do think that the one thing I would say might be worth evaluating, again, I don't know if it's wrong or not, but perhaps we should just try to see if we can get Mana Saber out, because I do find that he had an awkward hand of curves. And, had he known what he would be drawing and need, like, that extra Mana Crystal to develop a little bit more, by all means, I'm sure Nalguidan would have even agreed, but it's easy for us to say in hindsight.
True enough. Well, we're taking a look at Just Saiyan's Druid, which is the last deck that he needs to find a win with in order to lock this one up. There's a chance to go 3-0. It's pretty surprising.
Yeah.
Didn't expect this one to be quite so one-sided.
It feels like in the current meta game right now, with Conquest, I feel it has very similar result pattern to last Hero Standing, where it's like, if you're not going to win the series 3-2, chances are you're going to win 3-0. Like, if you're going to win the series, you either win 3-2 or 3-0 a lot. And it's pretty surprising to me that ends up being the case. But we haven't had many 3-1s in Grandmasters for the Americas, as far as my memory serves. I'm sure if I look at the numbers, it probably is just kind of like some kind of bias that's coming into it, like recency bias, because I've been seeing a lot of 3-2s and 3-0s.
Sure.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
All right. Perhaps the last game in the series, although Nalguidan could certainly bring it back.
Yeah.
Wow, you get the Imprisoned Felmon, the opening hand with the coin. That feels amazing.
Feels great. Feels so good. The only thing is that he actually has like a really good 1-2-3, so this might be one of the few times where you don't point out Imprisoned Felmon because you have a coin at the saber. And that's also really good against Druid, who's also ramping.
Right.
But I gotta say, coin Imprisoned Felmon still hard to argue against him.
It's hard to say no to, but then at the same time in this matchup, if you play a minion on turn 1, a lot of times Druid has a hard time dealing with that, and it becomes like a 4 damage or 6 damage minion, right?
Right. Oh, it's so beautiful, Toy. He
Never
draws
mind.
the imprisoned. He draws the imprisoned Felmoth for the mana saber, and then gets the big ol' whelp.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I could cry. Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought he was gonna maybe take out the Battle Mage, but he did not. Went for the draw.
Yeah, challenging those early minions is a lot of times Druid's higher priority because you want to preserve your health. I think the thing is, Saiyan looks at his hand and says, 1, I have Glowfly Swarm. I don't have a lot of spells yet, so I might need to draw cards. 2, if I also have Kael'thas. Kael'thas needs a lot of cards, and he ends up hitting Overgrowth with that draw, which ends up being a really important pickup. So I can get on board with it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now, here's a follow-up question. Do we Rising Winds again instead of Bog Beam here? I think a lot of people would immediately start panicking and say like, "Oh, I just want to remove the pressure. Elmo's going to hit me for 5."
Well, I think if you've decided you're going to play the drawing line of play, you gotta stick to it, right? Otherwise, you're going to sort of like do both things not well. If you're going to go for like, I'm sort of clearing the board and I'm sort of drawing cards. So I like the commitment. Because the theory is, it's so strong though for Nalguidan, but the theory for Just Saiyan, I suppose, is that
oh my god,
if you follow this line of play, then at some point you're just going to stop taking damage, right?
Yeah, but Doa, that is a filthy
unlikely
hand because now he has 2 free activations of Kael'thas. He has Kael'thas, 2 free spells plus whatever, or sorry, 2 free spells plus the third will be free guaranteed.
Right.
Then he has 2 more free spells in the form of Iron Bars or Bog Beams. So it's basically his next draw. His next draw determines everything here.
Innervate.
Oh,
whoa. Okay.
That's bad.
I mean, it's another free spell, I guess, but it's not really going to gain you any more than you already have.
Yeah.
So, Glowfly Swarm? No, you just go for Kael'thas, I guess. What do you think?
It actually might be just straight up Glowfly Swarm. Hard to say, because right now, if you go for Kael'thas, what are you getting for free? Oh, you know what it is? It's just a big minion.
Sure.
You can use Iron Bark on.
Yeah. It's already got 7 health to begin with.
Sure. Yeah.
So
that's my reasoning.
You do get your free Glowfly Swarm. And you have that big taunt. So I think at this point, that's the whole idea too, right? Where Just Saiyan's like, well, if I just draw, I'm going to have this turn where I'm just going to stop taking damage. And so at that point, it doesn't matter how much damage I've taken because that's just going to be the end of it. Hopefully, right?
Nalguidan's really hoping for no talk because he has lethal the following turn through kill command.
Yeah, I guess he does.
Nalguidan not happy to see that. But I mean, he's still got answers, He's got diving Griffin.
Right.
Talking is hard today, Doe. You're gonna have to hard.
Dude, that's been the story of my career. Well, he does have 5 damage from the kill command. He's got the diving Griffin, like you said. He can't play both of them, obviously. Well, maybe, but that's a lot of health to get through on that Kael'thas.
Yeah, I think the sequencing might be like kill command, attack with the mana saber. But you lose the 3/5.
Yeah. Losing the mana saber is really rough. Well,
diving Griffin, what does it draw though?
Oh, that's
draw
a good question.
Faceless Corruptor, or you can draw Zixor. And if you draw Zixor, how much is that? That's 3. That's 4 from the Diving Griffin, 2 from the Zixor. That's another awkward breakpoint. This all stinks.
It does. I mean, kill command, big ol' whelp. At least it kills the Kael'thas cleanly. You can handle a couple of the Glowflies. You can keep your mana saber around, and you can establish your board a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I think this is a decent answer, right? Where you do handle most of the Glowflies. You force them to dedicate some resources into a 3/3. Oh, that Soul of the Forest, though.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it
not the greatest turn for it.
Ends up being a very good decision for Nalguidan to clean up the board here.
Yeah.
If he got greedy and just started going face damage, which he didn't really have a hand to justify it.
Yeah.
would have ended up a lot worse than it actually is.
Bit of a dead hand for Just Saiyan right now. He can clear the Mana Saber, but you're not really going to be getting anything. You're not going to be getting any threats out there this turn.
Yeah, had Saiyan reversed that Innervate and Soul the Forest draw, he would be in such a dominant position. He would have had that free Kael'thas or that free Soul the Forest after his Kael'thas summoned the Glowfly Swarm. Instead now, Saiyan, right now, at best, can just summon an extra 2/2 with that Soul the Forest. He might have to just take it slow.
You're at 16 health right now. How slow can you take it against a Hunter?
It's true.
It's scary. But I agree that there's not a lot of other options. Oh, it feels so bad to do this. I mean, you clear it, right? But and I guess you get a decent taunt minion out there as far as it's got it's got 5 health, but that's a rough one for Just Saiyan.
Yeah, his out is specifically one card in his deck, and that's Ysera Unleashed on 9 next turn. After that, he would have to draw Overflow or some kind of card draw, so he needs Runner in a very specific order. Otherwise, it's not going to work out.
And Nalguidan sees this, and he's like, all right, well, clearly your hand is not great right now. And so I guess you do take the 50-50 with Dragonbane. Where's it go? And it kills a minion. Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, Saiyan knows he's in a really bad spot. Chances are he would whiff, but... super whiff.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I guess it's not going to be a 3-0.
Yeah. Can kill this Dragonbane.
Yes.
Which he should do, because if he doesn't, he's guaranteed to die.
Right. It seems like a massive waste, but if the alternative is just the game is over, then it's still the right play.
Right. And there's still a very small modicum of a chance that he makes his comeback, but...
Sure.
Yeah.
What do you think here? Evasive Fellwing, Hero Power?
Yeah, Evasive Fellwing or Fairy Dragon. I think both are good. Those are just both really powerful things against Druid, because Druid can't interact with it as easily without AoE. Okay.
Almost guaranteed lethal action. Oh, Overflow. That might sustain him for a little bit longer.
Ray of Hope. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Fungal Fortunes. Wait, no, is he just dead on board if he does that?
Yeah, he may be. I mean, you got to get rid of some of these minions, right? Because he's at 13. There's 9, 10 damage on the board. Well, plus the hero power is 12. So Nalguidan with that board would only need 1 more from hand.
Can heal himself through crystal power.
True.
Okay.
All right.
And Mount Seller gives him a chance. Okay, this is possible. It's still, again, unlikely.
Wow. But yeah, you're right. It's back in it. Well, there's Saiyamat, though.
Yeah, so CMI, if you set up a Divine Shield Windfury at this point, Saiyan is going to have to get the most godlike Mount Sellers like summons. It's going to have to be... it's going to be tough.
What do you get? A whole gang of King Muklas, I don't think, doesn't save you at that point. And of course,
yeah, you actually would have to instead get like rushers.
Yeah.
I supply only the
here we go.
Innervate for a
has
little
to be
bit more
like
mana.
All diving griffins. Oh my god, that's one of them.
You got one.
Right, here we go.
Okay. Well, it's another bird, but it's not a diving griffin. Oh no! Wow. What? How do you win from there?
Oh, another diving griffin. No,
well,
stop summoning Raven.
You need a bird, like a half bird, half lion animal, not only birds. It's the wrong bird-related mythical creature.
Yeah.
I mean, so even if you use like crystal power or something to help finish him off. Oh, well, there's a heal.
Oh, he's going for a rusher again.
Yep.
Doesn't get it.
Not really, and that's it. All right, so Nalguidan on the board. Getting a win with the Hunter.
Yeah, finally able to get that Hunter across the finish line. And if you look at the data also, Hunter had been struggling a lot with Druid. So weird, right? Sometimes the way that pans out where it's like, oh, I'm going to take my favorable matchup and lose, and then take my unfavorable matchup and win. It really do be like that sometimes in a game of Hearthstone.
Yep. Well,
Nothing's ever guaranteed, and that's kind of what makes it exciting to the very end.
oh yeah, totally. Because when it comes down to at this level, any deck can beat any deck. Even if the matchup is really bad, you do see scenarios where, it does turn around. And if you're in Nalguidan's camp right now, you take those, right? Like the alternative is for the match to be over, right? So
Yeah.
he's back in it. Needs to win with Demon Hunter or Warlock next to stay alive. Just saying, still just looking for that win with Druid to close out the series. It's going to be Demon Hunter for Nalguidan.
Yeah, Demon Hunter, a class that Druid also can struggle with a lot, but depending on how good the Demon Hunter is able to get out the gate, drawing an early curve is paramount for this deck, I feel. The only way you can come back if you're too slow and Druid gets off to a reasonable start is if you get an Altruist, in my opinion.
Right.
Because the Demon Hunter... the Druid will make you punish, or will punish you. God. Druid will punish you really heavily if you give him a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm. You weren't wrong. Like, the Druid will make you punish yourself by using your cards inefficiently to have to clear the board in a way you don't want to.
But it's tough because Demon Hunter's so good at getting that early game curve, and chances are they're going to, and they're just going to run over you. So, the matchup does heavily lean data-wise towards the Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
And I think Druid isn't really here to beat the Demon Hunters, despite the fact that you leave it up.
True. Is there a scenario where you use spells on this 1-2 here?
I think that it's not enough to justify it. You really need to have spells to answer your opponent's really powerful turns featuring Satyr Overseer.
Yeah.
And so having a Crystal Power or Wrath or any other thing to deal with those really powerful early game developments, I would say is pretty crucial.
Right. Another couple 1/1s joined the board via the Umberwing. And just saying, thinking to himself, maybe there's still a swipe in my deck somewhere. Maybe I forgot to take it out months ago. But it's a Savage Roar. All right.
It's a Savage Roar. Wild Growth here. Wild Growth here is definitely the first thing that Saiyan's looking at.
Definitely.
I think he's trying to talk himself out of it. Like, should I be acknowledging this board more? By hero powering instead?
Do you hold yourself back too much if you hero power? You're only taking 1 damage off the board, I guess.
I mean, it's a good question. The thing might be that he's not ramping into anything. That's probably the one thing that he's looking at. Is
good point too.
Is Wild Growth into the Glowfly Swarm. That's good.
Wild Growth into all the stuff in his hand right now is not great. He goes for the Wild Growth anyway, kind of under the faith, the heart of the cards that he's going to draw something to benefit from that extra mana. Blazing Battle Mage is a draw from Nalguidan. But it's going to be the Satyr Overseer play.
Yeah.
Pretty stellar early game from the Demon Hunter right now.
Yeah, exactly. The average draw from Demon Hunter is going to blow out the Druid.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
So,
wow.
Yeah, Saiyan, based on what you were saying, Doa, yeah, that's what Saiyan was hoping for, that perhaps he would pick up something to fill up his mana, and also if he did find something to play this turn, he wouldn't be able to play the Wild Growth because he would have to use it to respond. Now I think it's a Crystal Power has to be used onto the Satyr Overseer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I even think I might use Moonfire. But the Savage Roar is a little bit cleaner of a way to use your mana effectively, because you might need Moonfire later on for Mount Cellar or Nail Toss.
It seems a lot to dedicate something like either of those spells to clear a bunch of 1/1s. That's the thing, is that they represent a bigger threat than they look like they do, but it still feels bad to use any of your cards on it. There's Kane. So even more damage hitting the board for Nalguidan if he wants to play it on curve. Otherwise, it's a pretty uninspiring turn if you don't play Kane here, right?
Yeah, Satyr Overseer is dead. There's nothing to Warglaives.
I mean, you're still ahead. Yeah, okay.
Fires of vengeance burn bright.
You can still play the Swamp Ooze and the Battle Mage and still develop your board and save your Taunt Denier / Charger.
Yeah, maybe Kayn is just like really powerful to use. Also, because if your opponent plays an Iron Bark, then you can just get through it anyways.
Yeah.
And so Drew with this
Man.
draw isn't beating anybody. Let's just put it out there.
All the buffs, but none of the stuffs.
Yeah, no stuffs, just buffs.
Yep.
And this is exactly what we're talking about. Just using Savage War to clear, power allows you to get stuff in hand.
Yeah. And this is kind of what I think of. These games are like what jumped to mind more than anything when I think about this Spell Druid list, where it's like you have such high highs, but you also have like abysmally low lows. It feels like a traumatic deck to play. And Glaives of Azzinoth look pretty perfect here for a Nalguidan.
Demons? Demons.
Yeah, overall, this is not looking good here. And, you know, I'm pretty hard-pressed to find an opportunity here for Zane to come back. I'm trying to think about, like, if he could choose the next card he wants in his deck, is that going to be enough? And it would be, like, overflow into some specific things, but...
Overgrowth instead. Yikes.
Yeah, this is game over. He can't do anything.
Yeah. And so, we've gone from a 2-0 lead for Just Saiyan to a 2-2 tie right now going into game number 5. Nalguidan on course to complete the reverse sweep here.
And, you know, that's a really, like, expected result from us, at least. You know, I was thinking, like, oh, you know, even though Nalguidan's down 2-0, we've been seeing the series go 3-2 or 3-0. I kind of had this feeling that it was going to turn out this way. But, you know, I am kind of surprised at how one-sided that was. I was kind of expecting Drew to at least put up some kind of fight, but that matchup's tough. Like we said, it is one of the more lopsided matchups in terms of the data.
Yeah, and I mean, when you have that Druid game like Just Saiyan had and you just don't draw anything, once in a while you have those games, right? You don't have it 3 times in a row, though, so we'll see what he can put together against this Quest Warlock, but now you're running into the list that you're maybe the most afraid of, right? Where there are a lot of really easy ways to clear the big Glowfly turns.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, but 3 in a row is, you know, it does happen.
It does. Yeah. Nalguidan, though, we talked about this, really needs this win, and kind of specifically needs it over players like Just Saiyan, who are kind of just on the bubble of the top 6 in Division A versus the bottom 2 that go to that relegation bracket.
Yeah. All right, well, you know, here we go. Druid versus the Warlock. Opening hands here. Nalguidan doesn't have any 2-man to play here. Doesn't have to worry too much about Saiyan's hand yet because it doesn't have ramp, but that Glowfly Swarm is going to need to get checked.
Yeah. I mean, that's just how it goes with Hearthstone, though, right? Where it's like, you know, he draws the second Broodmother, where you look for a card all game, the last game, you don't find it, and then right after that, very first hand in the next game, Glowfly Swarm shows up. Feels good.
Feels great.
In a bad way.
In the only possible way you can feel.
Yeah. So 8 cards in hand. Is there a world where you just drop the Morag Artificer here just to put something on the board? You're gonna just life tap instead. You've got the room, so you might as well, I suppose. No plot twist, so it is getting a little bit awkward. But he does have a big Rain of Fire setup at least, or Dark Skies rather.
Uncle Fortress. He's gonna really pray though if he discards one of his important minions.
That's an important minion.
It's important, but actually, I think that's the one minion he's okay to discard.
I was gonna ask you, yeah, if you compare that to like Mount Seller, I guess you'd probably rather discard the Kel'Thas Sunstrider, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm saying like if you had to discard minions and you aren't playing the Malagos Alexstrasza version with Emerald Explorer, then
Sure.
I'd say that Kael'thas would be the first go on a chopping block because assuming you have the mana to back it up, Kael'thas just helps you get cheaper cards, but doesn't actually add substantial power unless you have like the Gift of the Wild turns, and we know that's not what Saiyan is really aiming for because he even have it.
Yeah, there's that.
The most important card I would say in this matchup actually would be Ysera Unleashed. If you're not just in terms of like the minion raw power of it, because
Naturally,
it's very difficult for any control deck to properly layer their threats of removal, or rather their removal, just against those dragons, because you just don't know when to expect those dragons when they pop out.
Right. You don't know what's going to happen. Nalguidan with a little bit of a tricky turn here. Nothing to really use your board clear on, but nothing to really cycle your hand with effectively. Can't life tap anymore. Unless he just throws out the coin or something. You could just sense demons, wow. Alright. Morg, he's already got the Brood Mothers in his hand. And yeah, just throwing out the Morg Artificer just to get something on the board and clear some hand space.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. It's kind of what you have to do at this point.
Yeah, take advantage of the passivity by letting your opponent be passive, and also just get ahead of that Glowfly Storm as you were talking about.
Right.
So,
speaking of which, you're just saying you know your opponent has a lot of ways to deal with Glowfly Swarm, or at least a lot of ways to deal with part of it.
right.
Decides to just not go for it instead.
Yeah, I think this is a matchup where, very realistically, you're not supposed to play Glowfly Storm until you can play Soul of the Forest, and just to force your opponent to have the double removal in like the optimal way.
Does sound right.
Nalguidan losing the ability to use Morg Artificer and playing this Crazy Netherwing on curve is very aggressive, to say the least.
That's so awkward too. I mean, as just saying, I suppose you know that your opponent has other board clear in their hand, otherwise they wouldn't have played such an aggressive board clear, what normally is used to clear those treants. But how do you respond? And do you save the Innervate for your big Glowfly Soul of the Forest turn, or do you use it for your Ysera turn? Now that Kael'thas is out of the picture. I guess Mount Cellar is still in the picture, but still.
Yeah, this is a position where you just really have to make the right read. If you know that your opponent plays a Crazed Netherwing so liberally, does that make you want to play Glowfly Swarm? Why would your opponent do that? Is he trying to lull you into a false sense of security? I think that Saiyan could also do a halfway play with this Rising Winds. He could just play Rising Winds to summon 2 Eagles and see what ends up happening with Nalguidan. If he just plays like another thing.
Wow,
boy.
that is bold.
And I mean, it's the right read right now based off Nalguidan's hand. You would have to commit 2 forms of AoE to even try to beat this.
Yeah, the threat from Moarg Dark Skies is probably the biggest one, but just Dark Skies by itself doesn't do a whole lot.
Right. More Dark Skies right now would be... So you get 8 procs off the Dark Skies because it counts itself.
Right.
And you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13.
21 health plus
14,
26
15.
health on the board.
Yeah. Well, I'm just counting about how many times it would have to hit to kill something.
Sure.
Way too many times
to
be able to kill it. So this might be a double Dark Skies. So if you double Dark Skies, you get 9 plus 8, so 17. It's still not enough.
Yeah.
It might be he just feels like he's going to have to do it anyway just to reduce the size of the board.
I guess
There's a chance that like a lot of these survive.
All right. 2 survive. So it didn't work out as poorly as it could have.
Oh wow. That wild growth is actually insane if he wants to go for that Ysera turn.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Rising Winds and Soul of the Forest here.
Maybe you go for the Wild Growth and Rising Winds, possibly.
Rising Rising Winds is actually important to hold on to if you do go for Ysera, because you need a form of card draw.
Oh, that's a good point.
So maybe it's just Soul the Forest and then push.
I mean, it is 6 damage.
Yeah,
Pretty happy about that.
I think I might commit Ironbark too, just to make it so that you can't like Mortal Coil my weak Glowfly Swarm, and then push 1 extra damage.
Right. That also makes it a little bit less appealing to use Kray's Nether Drake as well if he has a second one in his hand.
Right. Okay.
It's unappealing anyway right now. Yeah, opts to put it on the bigger minion, actually.
This is also still like a soft lethal setup. If he draws a little bit of extra damage next turn, he's got it, because he's got 7 plus the 6 of Savage Roar, plus the Moonfire and Hero Power.
It's true.
Look what I brought.
Summoner comes in with a pretty big taunt. Glowfly Swarm again. All right, it's not huge. Do you just slam Ysera right now?
I'm trying to find every reason not to. It's really, really hard to convince me that that's not the right play here.
He has not found a reason either. That's the plan. Yeah, he's got the clear too.
Yeah.
Takes out the 7/7, pushes a little bit more damage to face, and just saying, in an okay position for the moment.
Okay.
Finally, the plot twist shows up for Nalguidan.
So he's at 8 cards now. If he taps and plot twist, I think that's a completed quest. But the problem still remains that you might just die.
Yeah, you'd really have to hope to draw the Brood Mothers if that was the case.
So he's at 12, and this shuffles 8 cards into his deck. So his quest is complete, if I counted correctly.
I think it looks like 19. Unless I saw it count up to 19 really quick. I'm not sure if it counts any farther at the end, but maybe you didn't quite make it. You do get the healing at least from the Brood Mother, but
Did finish.
okay, no, he did finish. Okay, interesting.
Ew.
Oh.
He was hoping for something way better than that.
That 1 mana discount.
Okay, so if you kill off one of these treants, there's 6 on the board showing. Savage Roar would be another 6, so 12, 13 through hero power. That's a little dicey, so I think he's going to go ahead and Nether Breath and just restore his life.
Yeah, decent health swing, gets back up to 20.
And perhaps one of the more discouraging things, Nalguidan has a lot of these expensive cards in his hand.
Right.
Okay,
Get
draw
that
another
discount.
card. Another portal eventually. There it is.
There's one. A Dream Portal. Gives him... Alright. Not bad.
So Nalguidan sees 2. He actually wants to see a lot more now, so he can just go ahead and fish for that a Twisting Nether. He does have Celadon in hand, though.
Yeah.
This looks like a good opportunity for Saiyan to evaluate if he wants to use Soul the Forest in this position, but he does have like a good second wave. So his opponent, he has to kill this board. And if your opponent clears that board, then you have Glowfly Swarm Soul the Forest.
Wow, he's going to use the Soul of the Forest now, though.
Yeah, and I think it's because if his opponent has the Twisting Nether, he has lethal next turn.
Well, we'll see what Nalguidan has. Either way, it's looking pretty rough unless he finds some healing. Zephyrus. What does that get him in this situation?
So if you play Zephyrus and you have 7 mana remaining on a board like this with a bunch of low attack, high health stuff, it'll offer you direct removal. So maybe something like a big game hunter or whatnot. It'll probably offer you Hex as actually
Natalie
your
Celine, possibly too.
The only problem with Natalie is it eats 8 mana, so it won't be playable this turn.
For some reason, I thought she was last. Oh, there's some healing. Okay.
Okay, that's big.
Yeah, get a taunt out for free.
I wonder if it's just best for Nalguidan to simply play the RNLC Broodmother and then Celadon, the Varanus.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because next turn he has Zephyrus into the Twisting Nether.
Come close.
True. I think that's going to be the play, it looks like.
This effectively puts him at 25, so the Savage Roar is an extra 8 plus 10 on board. Not enough, unless it's a rusher. Okay. That was a rusher. I think that actually would have been.
Yeah, possibly. There is one dragon with rush that I can think of.
Yeah, the evasive worm is the number one thing I'm thinking about.
I was thinking something Fellwing, but it's evasive Fellwing is just the stock, you know, can't be targeted one. Evasive Worm is the Divine Shield Rush one. So, exotic Mount Seller.
So, the hardest part about playing against Quest Warlock is that you can't really play around the 0 mana cards, but in some ways you really need to. Like, if Saiyan, like Savage Roar here looks pretty good.
It
but
does.
like, you know, if his opponent has a 0 mana Alexstrasza plus tempo, then this all gets blown up in his face.
Yeah, you just kind of have to hope for the best. I was wondering if maybe you Mount Seller and try to find a rush beast to take out the taunt and push more damage through.
I think
Doesn't look like that's the case.
I think Saiyan's identified that Nalguidan still is only holding one card that's been discounted by the Quest Hero power. And Nalguidan has to like specifically get a series of outs. Ooh. Just every other card Nalguidan wants to get discounted has been off. Like the Malagos was off by 1, the Zephyrs was off by 1, the Dragon Queen Alexstrasza was off.
So even if he uses something like Twisting Nether here, you would still be dealing with a bunch of 2/2 Treants.
Yeah, he'd still be dead.
Yeah. Does Nether Breath save him?
Okay, Zephrys. I think he's gonna try to play Zephrys for a. Oh, wait! He can manipulate Zephrys to potentially give him Frost Nova.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, if you could just delay things and get a Frost Nova out of Zephrys.
Then he has Malagos, Rain of Fire, and Nether Breath, and Soulfire. That's. Oh, and he doesn't have enough mana to play the second Rain of Fire. Wait, but Rain of Fire would damage himself. No,
I was gonna say, yeah, I think Rain of Fire would kill him too.
It's okay, he has Nether Breath. So that's 4 plus 1 plus 4, so it's 9 plus 15. That's 24.
Right.
If this board survives, Nalguidan has lethal. He's found a way to set up 2-turn lethal here.
Nice. I like it.
Very clever.
Yeah.
And there's no taunts because Saiyans use things like Iron Bark to try to push damage a little bit more tempo.
Now, do you do something really crazy like Crystal Power yourself back up to 30 health? And Hero Power, just to like push it, you know?
I mean, if I'm saying this looks like a Malagos setup to me, so I think I just want to clear the minions on the board.
Okay.
So I might Crystal Power down my opponent's minions and then double Moonfire. But then, like, Mount Seller gets a lot worse, Glowfly Storm's a lot worse.
Yeah.
I mean, gotta take what's in front of you, too.
You don't have a lot of room for Mount Seller at this point either.
Exactly.
You know, you play her, and even if you have a lot of spells to activate it, you're not gonna have room for a lot of activations.
Right.
Takes out the Zephrys.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
If Saiyan doesn't double Moonfire, if I counted correctly, Nalguidan has lethal with the Malagos and the Nether Breath, because Nether Breath plus Soulfire plus Rain of Fire deals 9 damage individually, plus 5 is...
He's counting.
Oh, sorry, 15 is 24, plus the 6 on board would be 30, if I'm counting correctly here.
I will not even attempt to do that much math, but I will trust you, and I will trust Nalguidan, who thinks the same thing. Nether Breath first to get the health back. And that's going to allow you to survive the Rain of Fire, I think.
Oh my god.
Did he actually do it? And justsaiyan can't believe it.
And he sequenced it properly just in case Saiyan has some kind of weird dragon in hand, but that's going to do it. Nalguidan gets his first win of the round robin, and Saiyan's guarantee of avoiding the relegation bracket has slipped away with that defeat for now. as
That's
Nalguidan
crazy.
gets a crucial victory. That's a great finish to a series, though.
This Quest Warlock deck has so many kind of zany ways to just bail yourself out of the most insane board states. You know, props to Nalguidan for seeing that, for doing all the math. It was pretty much exact.
Oh yeah.
But wow, what a way to win that series. That's crazy.
Yeah, and if you're Nalguidan, you got to be proud of that one. I would say almost no one is harder on themselves publicly on social media than Nalguidan. He just kind of gets down on himself, saying, and he was even calling himself into question whether or not he even belonged in Grandmasters at the beginning of the season. But you see him get that big victory, and the way to do it over one of the best players in that region too. I mean, that's kind of super sweet.
I think with a win like that, you can be pretty sure that you deserve your spot in the Grandmasters and in Division A. But what a thrilling way to start the day, huh? 3-2, nail-biting victory for Nalguidan over Just Saiyan, and we're just getting started. 3 more matches coming up.
That's right. So coming up next, we got Eddie and Monsanto. Eddie and Monsanto are going to both ban that warrior. Neither player queuing up that druid, and it looks like with Saiyan's Bring of Druid, it didn't work out. Again, we've seen druid do wonderful things. If you go back to the very beginning of the round robin stages, you know, Language Hacker was destroying with Spell Druid for a while, or was it the beginning of Swiss tournaments? It was the Swiss tournaments. However, it seems like druid just kind of seems like a you live or die by it, and it looks like Saiyan died.
Yeah, high highs and low lows, I think is the moral of the story, or the theme